Welcome to another edition of the channel's Mailbag. So what is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is the part of the channel that you guys actually control. It's based on comments, questions, general feedback that you guys leave either on the YouTube channel, the website, or through one of my social media feeds. Mailbag contains what I think the answer is, what I think my view of the comment is, or sometimes, I just throw it out to the wider audience and say, what do you guys think? That's what Mailbag is. So let's get in to the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. The next comment question comes from Nelson Click, and this was in response to something to do with the Korg Poly 61. I haven't written which video it was. Anyway, Nelson writes, this was the workhorse synth in 1985 for the whole tour in a cover band. It was rained on, it was dropped, it was baked in the sunlight and never failed us once. We used the ARP a lot on practically every other song, like Duran Duran, and for basses on songs like Legs by ZZ Top. No sync, I would re-trigger the synth on every quarter note in time with the kick or the snare. It worked perfectly. So this was called Poly 61, and I kind of look at it and say, many people loved this synthesizer, and I don't mean that. I mean the amount of comments I've had about the Korg Poly 61 and how many people absolutely loved it. It was a very affordable 2 DCO analog synthesizer. And it was probably about the time people were getting fed up with VCOs, which, if you were in a humid environment, sounded different to if you were in a hot environment, sounded different to if you were in a cold environment. People got very fed up with that. I mean, it kind of adds to the warmth of some synthesizers, like, the Jupiter 8, for argument's sake, which is, of course, always the one that people wander off onto. But there were a lot of synths around at this time that were kind of VCO driven. And the DCO came along, and the DCO effectively digitally controlled the oscillator. Yes, the signal was analog, but the actual oscillators were being controlled via a digital circuit somewhere down the line. And it made a hell of a lot different. But they were quite expensive when they first came into the market. And along came things like the Korg Poly 61. And it made it affordable. All of a sudden the DCO, the twin DCO was affordable. JX3P, a little bit more money, I think, if I remember correctly, but again, still affordable twin DCO synthesizer. And my friend Gary loves his JX3P. So, I couldn't get on with the Korg Poly 61. Some synths you just have to give up on. And I gave up on that one. I just could not get on with it. Did not suit my mindset, but others really love it. And, there is this kind of love and hate element over obsolete synths. And it reminds me of that sort of, that line in Jurassic Park where Jeff Goldblum states, dinosaurs had their shot, but nature selected them for extinction. I remind myself of this when I get teary-eyed when I spot an old Roland or Korg at the pawn shop. And I think that itself really sort of says everything. I get teary when I look at an old Korg or Roland in a shop or online, and I have to work out whether it's something I want to put in my collection and something I want to play. And sometimes you just don't. And the Korg Poly 61 was lent to me with a view that I might buy it, and I really didn't get on with it. I had it for a few weeks and I just really couldn't gel with it. So, you know, great, but tried the t-shirt, didn't like it, so I threw it away. Not figuratively, of course. Next one comes from the real Lankin. I think that is the real Lankin. Let's go with that one. Does the world need, and this was in response to, does the world need Kronos 3 SMR I did in February 2025? And the real writes, great discussion and video, thank you. My own thoughts are that the Nautilus is in fact doing what Korg designed it for. Its price and build quality is around mid-tier synths and workstations such as the Phantom O or the Yamaha Modi X. They also always plan to bring the Kronos back as a flagship product once redesigned the motherboard internal parts that became obsolete during COVID. Kronos hardware is excellent as a new platform. All it needs is some Linux software development to push it forward again in terms of features like Akai and Atura. Crack on, Korg. Don't disappoint you in your software GUI development. Your new platform has plenty of potential, assuming that you don't sit on your hands. In developing a better GUI, just my 2 cents. Thanks for the video. Interesting discussion. What can they're all valid points, and I think everybody agrees, if I'm honest, that the Korg Oasis Kronos concept dreadfully needs to be updated. While an incredibly efficient, it is an incredibly efficient 32-bit environment. Even Korg admitted at NAMM that there are several limitations that they have effectively written into the platform that they can't get themselves out of, and it will need probably a complete platform redesign. Now, I think the Korg, I've said several times, I'm not sure, but I think the Korg Kronos is capable of full 64-bit operation. But at what point do they effectively break the compatibility with the older versions and say, right, from now on, Kronos 3 is Kronos 3, and anything prior to Kronos 2, prior to Kronos 3, Kronos 2, X and 1 are themselves a platform. And it will also affect things like being able to sell the sound packs. So we shall see. We shall see what they come to say on that one.